Guys, a few days ago, HoYoverse announced that they're looking to hire people to make a new permanent mode for Genshin Impact. According to them, this mode will be just as important as the game itself, so it's pretty interesting. Today, I'll analyze what we know and I'll explain to you why I truly believe this could change Genshin Impact forever. First of all, what is this? The original announcement is in Chinese, so I'll quickly summarize it for you. Basically, they want to hire gamers that have excellent knowledge of games like Roblox, Minecraft, Fall Guys in order to create a system that is focused around user-generated content. This user-generated content term can have many interpretations, and in reality, it's just as vague as it sounds. Typically, it refers to any type of content that is made by people that aren't the original developers. They can range from simple graphical modifications to gameplay mods that alter the base game experience. Mods have been, without a single doubt, a very influential part of the past 20 years of gaming, as they've contributed to drastically increase the longevity of popular games like Skyrim, and in some cases, they even became bigger than the game itself, like it's been for the Garry's mod for Half-Life 2. The next level of this concept is games like the old Warcraft 3 or the more recent Super Mario Maker that allow players to create new game stages by using thousands of freely available assets accessible through very intuitive interfaces. If this latest example reminds you of something, then you have a solid memory. Back in patch 3.7, Genshin Impact released an event called Divine Ingenuity. In this event, players could create new levels by using objects and enemies that were already available in the game. We were able to dispose them in any way we wanted, and after finishing the levels, we could even share them online. Despite the mode having the huge downside of only allowing a fixed amount of items to be placed, it was loads of fun, and people loved it. This prompted the usual movement of players begging HoYoverse to make the fun events such as the Divine Ingenuity into permanent content, because it just feels like a waste to only have them available a few weeks at a time. Usually, these prayers were always left unanswered, but that time was different. HoYoverse explained that they knew that many players wanted these events to become permanent. Sadly, at the same time, they told us this couldn't become a reality because essentially they didn't plan to update these events continuously enough for them to become valuable permanent content. Still, they also said they would continue planning new permanent content, and today here we are. And hear me out now, user-generated content could be the perfect fix to the biggest issue the game has. Think of it for a second. To you, what's the biggest issue the game has? Could it be the lack of endgame, maybe? Maybe, but I think it's too simple as a response. I think we shouldn't focus on what is missing, rather why is it missing. Genshin Impact is undoubtedly a massively successful product in terms of revenue and player base, but as a game it fails in a very specific area, which is perfecting a niche. By this I mean that it does too many things at once, and as a result it does none perfectly. But the reason is not that HoYoverse is incapable of doing excellent stuff, rather the issue is that the game is too popular. It's probably the biggest anime game ever, and anime is one of the fastest growing markets out there right now. All of this means that Genshin Impact is attracting a massive pool of people and is trying to satisfy them all. However, this is very hard because these people have many different preferences and many anime fans are not even gamers to begin with. The other side of this is that by being a gacha, Genshin is trying to target people with a disposable income. So basically people that have a job and can spend loads on the game to pull new waifus. These people don't have the time to play the game that much, and so Genshin can't make it too gameplay intensive because it will be hurting its main source of income. So when Tom, lead game designer of Genshin Impact, goes to office and starts thinking of how he could make the game better, he can't just see it from a gameplay perspective, because Tom has to remember that his company is trying to make infinite money, and so he can't plan for content that will only please a small part of the community. The logistics of it always have to make sense, and this is precisely why user-generated content is the solution. Because when TGS, 24 years old Genshin player, tries to think of what could make the game better, he only sees it from a gameplay perspective. TGS may not be an expert like Tom, but he has a good grasp of what he likes in gaming. There are probably many players that share TGS preferences when it comes to gaming, and while they may not be the majority, TGS doesn't care, because it doesn't need to care about the logistics of it. Now multiply this by literally literally millions, and you've got the potential to make something truly great. I know this may be sounding a little bit sensationalistic right now, because as of now, nothing is certain after all, and most importantly, Genshin Impact has taught us to not raise our expectations too much when it comes to gameplay updates, but the reason I'm genuinely excited right now is that I truly believe user-generated content has been one of the most solid pillars of the current landscape of gaming. Honestly, just saying that this type of content improves the base game might be oversimplifying it. Warcraft 3 is my favorite example of this. I don't know how many people know about it, but the user-generated content in Warcraft 3 literally made new genres. It popularized the tower defense genre in the shape we know of today, and most importantly, it created the MOBA genre. All of this by allowing players' creativity to flourish through a structure that made it possible for them to create custom maps. I truly hope you know what I'm talking about here, because Warcraft 3 was such an amazing game, but there are also other examples. For example, the Minecraft Hunger Game mods showed how interesting survival-based PvP modes could be, and later on inspired the Battle Royale genre. More recently, the Auto Chess mod of Dota 2 was such a hit that the Dota developers made their own version of that mod. Companies trust players to make good content so much that making games totally focused around that idea is considered a recipe for success nowadays. So it's no surprise that HoYoverse is saying that this thing is just as important as the main game to them. Because within a community that is as big and passionate as the Genshin Impact one, the potential is honestly limitless. And based on past history, this may not only change the future of Genshin Impact, but of gaming as a whole. Personally, this also gives me more faith about HoYoverse design decisions. In the past, I felt a bit discouraged about how they handled stuff, because they were trying a bit of everything and it felt a bit aimless. I really kind of believe that Genshin was sort of a guinea pig to HoYoverse, in the sense of a game where they could test a bit of everything to see if they could come up with an idea that could satisfy a massive player base to then make that a full-fledged game. On the flip side, now I feel like they were preparing all of these different structures for this new thing. And I think the timing of this announcement is also pretty interesting, because if they just announced they're trying to hire people now, I think we can only expect this to drop a few years from now. In terms of Genshin regions, we got Natlan dropping this year, Niedzna dropping next year, and then Kanria dropping 2 years from now, presumably. That will be the climax of Genshin Impact. I'm not saying it will end, but it will be the climax of the current main story. After that climax, people might lose interest, so it makes a lot of sense for HoYoverse to plan ahead right now to preserve the longevity of its main game. What I mean by this is that user-generated content might be HoYoverse's plan to make Genshin Impact an immortal game. And finally, for the first time in a while, I can say that I am excited for the future of the game, because I can see a direction. And it feels great to be able to say this about Genshin Impact. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it already, and peace!